Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. As I continue my ongoing series, Is Queen the Greatest Band of All Time? Again, coming from a guy who's never been a big Queen fan. My whole adult music listening life, or since I was a kid, I pretty much only had Queen's Greatest Hits 1 and Queen's Greatest Hits 2. Thought they were okay. I can only listen to them in little bits. And because ever since the streaming era and then the Bohemian Rhapsody movie and the Broadway show, Queen has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. It didn't matter that Freddie Mercury passed away. And, of late, they consistently voted amongst the best, if not the best band of all time. So I decided to take a deep dive. I am up to album number 4, Queen's magnum opus, A Night at the Opera. Came out in 1975. Hit number 1 in the UK and was their first really big hit in the US. Went top 5. I think it peaked at 4, if I remember right. And I love this CD version. It's a duplication of the album. It's got the Queen logo, I guess, for the first time, their crest. It's in 3D like the original vinyl album. It's got the lyrics on the inside, if you could read them. With a microscope I need. Beautiful packaging, and it sounds really good. Produced by Roy Thomas Baker again. And they knew what they were going into. Clearly, they created their logo, their Queen crest, and they knew that they were going for the big time. And they knew they had Bohemian Rhapsody and You're My Best Friend, which are the two songs that I knew from the album. So I got to tell you something, folks. I worked really hard on this. I hope you believe me. All of these albums. The first time I listened to this album, I don't want to give it away, I really didn't like it at all. And I was like, I can't believe this is a magnum opus. I'm getting exhausted from this Queen deep dive. I listened to this album over the past week 6 times. I listened to it right before this video. My daughter was sitting right over there, and it hit me. It took 6 listens, but it hit me. I'm like, all right, now I get it. So let's go through this album song by song. So it starts off with Death on Two Legs, which opens up interestingly. It's got like some keyboard, piano kind of tinkling, and then you get that Brian May massive guitar sound, like this big cacophony of sounds, and it goes into a real hard rock song. Obviously, it's written about a manager, I take it, who must have ripped them off. Death on Two Legs. No Mercy singing to this guy. It does have a really great lyrical guitar solo, which I really like. Sometimes with Queens, their production is so big and there's so many layers and so many overdubs that I kind of feel like it loses any kind of heart or soul. It becomes more like these guys are masters in the studio, but it almost becomes so technical to me. But, that one works. It's a good opener. I don't think it's an amazing song. I know a lot of people think it is, but it's a good opener. That goes into Lazing on a Summer Afternoon. Geez, did they cop that from the Kinks? Sunny Afternoon? Lazing on a Sunny Afternoon? This is Lazing on a Summer Afternoon. It's interesting because Death on Two Legs goes right into it. And it's one of those things that I guess Freddie Mercury loves. It's another one of those. I call him Busby Berkeley. Is that right? Like from the 20s, those old Broadway vaudevillian type things with people tap dancing. That's what this is, like a 20s tap dance thing. The vocals are interesting. It's really a distant vocal, obviously purposely recorded that way. It's less than 2 minutes. Is it a song? Well, it is a song, but it's kind of just an interlude to me. It's interesting, nothing great, but it put a smile on my face. Then it goes right into I'm in Love with My Car. I'm becoming a Roger Taylor fan because on the other albums especially, Roger Taylor seems to be the more basic rocking guy without all of that Queen attached to it. And I'm in Love with My Car is another one of those. It's just a straight 70s kind of rock track. It's less than 3 minutes long, and it's good. Is it a great song? No, but if you like that meat and potatoes rock, it's kind of fun to hear Queen do that. Queen does every kind of style. It still comes out sounding like Queen. Like the major bands, they're not alone with that. A lot of bands can do tons of different styles, but They're really all over the place for sure. So after that, and it's interesting, I'm in Love with My Car fades out, and then you get all this revving of the car engines, and then that goes into that opening note that everybody knows, the John Deacon classic song, You're My Best Friend, which is a nice love song. Listen, here on classic rock radio, which I don't really listen to, but when I'm in the car, you either hear on Long Island Queen or Billy Joel. You hear that song all the time, which I typically turn off. Listen, it's a fine song. It's a really good, less than 3 minute pop song. Got to tell you something funny. You know, when I hear You're My Best Friend, so I'm 60, and if you're around my age, you may remember that old TV show, The Courtship of Eddie's Father, with how was it, Bill Bixby. And the theme song of that show was like My Best Friend. They remind me, they're kind of similar. I think that was done by Harry Nilsson, My Best Friend. But anyway, this is You're My Best Friend from John Deacon. Listen, it's a really good pop song. I don't need to hear it ever again, but it is what it is. That goes into an interesting track called 39. So 39 is definitely different. Brian May sings it, and I believe he's playing another 12-string. I wish the production was a little bit cleaner on the 12-string. I mentioned it on another song from one of these other albums. You know, 12 strings have a big, nice, beautiful sound, like with all the ringing strings. Listen to Stairway to Heaven. The acoustic guitar part is on the 12-string, and it's beautiful. It sounds like it's a 12-string on the song 39, but it doesn't really have that big 12-string sound that it could. But it's an acoustic song with a bass drum, and it sounds to me some kind of a sci-fi epic, I guess. I don't know, but the music is really interesting. The music's like a 60s folk song, like a troubadour folk song. It's just interesting, very different from what I've heard so far from Queen. And, I could picture like Peter, Paul, and Mary singing that one. It's got a nice sing-along chorus. It's good. Is it a great song? No. Would it make it on a Bob Dylan album? Probably not. But it is kind of Bob Dylan-ish, Peter, Paul, and Mary-ish. It's got a good little sing-along chorus. It's a good song. And then that goes into a thing called Sweet Lady, which I think is just a mess, man. That's a class-chugging rocker. I don't know what they were getting at, but I don't think it works. Roger Taylor plays the drums, and like on the verses, it's like he's playing 4 on the floor, and then it goes into a chorus, which is a completely different structure. I feel like the song is fighting itself. It doesn't know if it's going this way or this way, and it's got this push and pull. But it's just a jumble and a bit of a mess. I don't care for the song. It's the worst song on the album, I think. Sweet Lady, 4 minutes, and I don't know. The end, it almost sounds like at the very end, it sounds like it's got more than one song playing at the same time with all their overdubs. It's just a mess. Then it goes into Seaside Rendezvous. Oh, number 2 of your 1920s Busby Berkeley type tap dance kind of things. But this one, a little bit, it's more of a song. This one is it's like that British music hall, very Beatles-like, very Paul McCartney-like. I could hear Paul McCartney doing this. Even the voice, because it's Brian May singing, it sounds like that. It's a weird in it because there's like a kazoo, it sounds like, and some other kind of instruments. I'm not sure if they're really the instruments, or it almost sounds like they're kind of imitating the instruments with their voices, which is interesting. It makes me smile and laugh when you hear the song, and there's even a tap dance solo in it. It's like they just throw everything against the wall, Queen. But there's your first side. You got hard rock, you got the 20s Busby Berkeley, you got a regular 70s rocker, you got that pop song, you got a acoustic folk thing. They're all over the map. And, my daughter was listening as I was playing it, really listened. She's like, this is pretty interesting. She goes, this would make like a good show. And she's right. It's like listening to a Broadway show. The numbers are all over the place. They're not great songs. I think You're My Best Friend, I guess, would be the closest to a great song on it, in my opinion. But I don't even really love that song. Let's go to side two. It starts off with the Prophet song, which is Brian May. There's your epic. It's over 8 minutes long, longest song on the album. I'll just throw myself up in the background there. So, Prophet song is like a hard rock, progressive track, very bass heavy. Then Roger Taylor's playing like floor toms. Goes into like a good chorus. It's interesting. It's like a prog heavy song. But then at about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, it goes into this overdub of vocals that just repeats, now I know, now I know, now I know, now I know. And it changes up, and it's just overdubs of voices echoing, going back and forth. There's 2.5 minutes pretty much of that. For me, it was torture. Like, if you want to torture me, tie me down in a chair and play this 2.5 minute interval of the Prophet song. I will want to blow my brains out. I get it. People probably thought it was cool back then. Maybe you think it's cool now. Listen, I know Queen are masters in the studio. They already proved that with these other albums. I don't need to hear 2.5 minutes of now I know, now I know. Oh, God. Driving me crazy. But after 2.5 minutes that, it goes back into the hard rocking song. There's even a nice acoustic guitar outro at the end. It's a bit of a mess. It's just a bit of a mess. It just needs, I don't know. But I give him credit for doing this 8 minute epic prog song. Although this album came out in 1975. Listen, by then, Jethro Tull had done a 45-minute song with Thick as a Brick, and then Passion Play, and Genesis had full-length songs and full-out, half-side Renaissance. So, that's not such a big deal doing an 8-minute song. That goes right into Love of My Life. Really different. The first couple times I heard it, I was like, oh my God, this is boring me to death. But then it caught on. I know it's a really famous song by them. It's a classical piece. You got Freddie Mercury at the piano. He's playing the piano. Really beautiful piano vocal. His harmonies with himself are beautiful. And there's even a really nice guitar solo at one point. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost sounds like it's backward guitar because, God knows Queen's got a fiddle in the studio. But it's interesting, this backwards guitar solo. Nice song. I know that there's live versions out there I haven't heard, but apparently it's an epic song live, and I imagine I'd probably even like it better live. That goes into Good Company, song number 3 of those kind of 1920s dance hall track. This one is Brian May singing it. This one, it's like a ukulele. I believe it sounds like a ukulele throughout it, but he does fill out some nice electric guitar leads. This one is so Paul McCartney. Oh, my God. There's a song by Paul McCartney and Wings on Venus and Mars called You Gave Me the Answer. It reminds me of that. You Gave Me the Answer is a lot better song, though. But it's kind of that British dance hall. Listen, the Kinks done it. McCartney's done it with the Beatles and without the Beatles. And Queen certainly loves to do it. And there's the third one on this album like that called Good Company. And that goes into the magnum opus, the song that broke Queen in the United States, Bohemian Rhapsody. So what do you say about Bohemian? It's like talking about Stairway to Heaven or Layla or Freebird. It's considered one of the greatest songs of all time, and honestly, deservedly so. It's a miracle of production and achievement and vision of what they were trying to do. It really is. The fact that it's a ballad and into hard rock and back into the ballad, and the opening, the a cappella opening, and then you aired little piano to it, and then Mama just killed a man. It's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And it just keeps building up, and the band comes in, and then you got 2.5 minutes, you got a beautiful, clean guitar solo, which is nice. That's, you don't always have to have multiple layers, and it's nice to hear a clean guitar solo that's just crisp, beautiful. And then at a little after 3 minutes, you get into that opera section. It's completely off the wall. It's completely off the wall now, and it was in 1975. Galileo, and all of that. It's just, it's so original. And then, of course, that goes into that massive Wayne World's hard rock, and then the guitar solo. and then it ends at the end with the ballad coming back in. It is truly a progressive masterpiece. It's so original then, it's so original now, and the reality is, I don't really need to hear that song anymore, but that's not a criticism of the song. It really is amazing, and it's definitely one of the greatest songs of all time, no doubt about it. Even the ending with the gong, nice touch. And then it ends with God Save the Queen. Their magnum opus, they had to end it. Brian May on the guitar, but the whole band kicks in and does God Save the Queen. Really a perfect ending to this album. So, like I said, the first time I listened to it, God, I hated it. But that's why I do what I do. And I appreciate your patience, because it's been a while since I did the last video. But I had to listen to this album 6 times, and today I did enjoy it. So, do I think it's a 5-star classic? No, I don't think it's close, because to me, a 5-star classic, every song is amazing, and this album is definitely not. Every song is amazing. But it is truly an achievement. It is truly a work of art. My daughter may be onto something. She says, they should do that as a show, because it's just all over the place. But it kind of works as a total composite, one total piece. It really does. So there you have it. Let me know what you think on my deep dive into Queen and A Night at the Opera. And I will keep going. Next up, A Day at the Races, which was the sister album, obviously, of A Night at the Opera. So I appreciate you watching. If you're new, please check out my other videos. And stay safe, stay healthy. Appreciate you watching, appreciate you subscribing, and I appreciate your loyalty. I hope you have a great night, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care.